How are you?
So it might just be like it's just you and me and none of these 300 other people actually exist and we can actually get into some stuff. But I'm going to tell them one thing real quick first, which is that I am so happy to be here with Sam online. So she can't kick me when I talk about how the book is a #1 New York Times bestseller, which is it's much needed proof that something true and good and right is still possible in this shit show of a world. But Sam and I are both here tonight for Women and Children First, which is one of only 10 feminist bookstores left in the United States. The owners, Sarah and Lynn, and their amazing team of booksellers asked me to tell you that they would not still be standing here if not for all of you. So thank you for supporting this incredible space for readers and writers, especially now when indies across the country need us so much. And that Sarah told me that Women and Children First is going to emerge from this situation a little bit different than before, but they still will survive, and that's because of you. For those of you who haven't received your copy of the book, they are shipping as quickly as possible with a severely reduced staff. So thank you for your patience. And if you haven't submitted your current mailing address via the Google form they sent out last week, please do so as soon as possible or reach out by email to wcfbooks@gmail.com. So we have this hour in this virtual space. Here's how it's going to go. Sam and I will chat for a little bit. I will make her read something, and then I will open it up to questions from all of you, which John and I will pull from the chat below. Please be nice in the chat room. I keep thinking that Sam left Facebook forever because people were shitty on the Bitches Gotta Read page, and she would, and this is actually a direct quote, rather walk into a lake and never stop walking or die from whatever chlamydia is in the lake over and over like Groundhog's Day than moderate a fucking group where everyone is fighting about young adult fiction. Sam, how are you?
That's true. I'm great, especially since I don't have to moderate that fucking group anymore. Also, like, this feels like fucking buck wild to say, but I thrive being indoors. So the death and horror notwithstanding, the being inside hasn't been so bad for me. So I'm doing all right. And my book's doing pretty good. I think that was a big worry, was like, is it going to fail because like everyone is sick? And it feels weird to be trying to sell a book right now. But other than that, I'm fine. I love not going outside. I love not feeling the sun's rays on my pallid skin. I love not breathing fresh oxygen. So like, I'm doing pretty good.
Have you left the house at all? Tell us where you are right now.
I am at home in Kalamazoo, Michigan. This is our dining room. There's a painting behind me by Adrian Nieves, who is an incredible painter. There's some bananas rotting in that bowl behind me on our cart. These are things that I had to pay somebody else to come in and install because I don't know shit about blinds. Yeah, I'm in my living room, or in my dining room. Where are you?
I am in my mother's basement outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. My kid and I came here a month
so close
to quarantine. I know. I think originally when we agreed to do this, I thought that I was just going to get in my car and come to your house. But now the idea of leaving feels tragic.
Yeah. You can't leave.
Am I right that this just kind of shows sort of how you are a prophet, but was the original title of this book supposed to be Dying is Fine?
Yes. Although imagine if I was trying to sell a book right now called fucking Dying is Fine. Yeah, so to my editor, I don't know if she's watching, but Maria, thanks, girl, because you saved me from having like a craven ass book.
Yeah, and probably heads up to the whole marketing team there too. That was
oh my God, could you imagine how like flamed I would be if I was like selling a book called Dying is Fine? I would be roasted across the entire internet.
Yeah. But as it is, the way that the book stands now, just all of the feedback from everyone. And when I'm talking about everyone, I'm talking about the New York Times, right down to the 50 strangers I don't know who came into my DMs today asking if I could secretly get them into this conversation because apparently it's sold out and I have the ability to hack Random House or something.
Just give them my phone number. They can just call me.
Oh, okay.
I'm not doing shit.
Girl, you gotta be careful. But that we'll all, there's 271 of us in here right now. We will all come over to your porch.
I mean, as long as you bring a gift.
I heard there's some homemade pad thai going on in your house right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forget that you also have my wife's phone number. Yes, there was homemade pad thai and a fruit salad and what else? She made a banana cake. I mean, it truly, like, my wife is a cooker and a maker and a baker, so she's doing all of her stuff around here and I'm reaping the rewards. Although I can fucking cook too, don't get it twisted.
Oh, I've been there. In addition, I don't know if you are aware of this, in addition to your wife's phone number, I also have access to your Google Drive. And I was
Oh, you do?
I do, because when we were writing all that vagina stuff for the paper machete, you gave me access. And I was thinking about this because I read about 900 interviews with you today in preparation for this conversation. And you talked about the young adult novel that is living on your Google Drive. You don't know what you should do with it. And I was wondering if the 272 people here and I should give it a read a little bit later on tonight.
I mean, you could. Here's the thing. So I have a few chapters, which you know because you've seen. I have a few chapters, but you know how you need to have like 2 conflicts that need to be resolved? So I have the first conflict, but not the second. And I can't write anything. Anything you've ever read that I have written, I always have the ending before I start writing it. And I don't have the ending. I don't have the, like, this is the thing that happens and we solve it and you finish the book. And so I can't write it until I get there.
Okay. Are you writing anything right now? Are you able to write right now?
I am writing Judge Mathis recaps. I have this newsletter where I recap Judge Mathis every day. So I'm doing that, and that's easy, right? Because really, if I could get someone to, like, give me a real job just riffing on shit. So a little bit of hot goss for everyone in the chat. Lindy West is working on a book where she kind of riffs on movies. And so, and she's sending me the essays as she writes them. So the first one she sent me was for Bad Boys 2, and the second one she's writing about The Fugitive. And I was like, Jesus Christ, if I could get somebody to give me money to do that, like, that's a dream, because all you do is react. You don't have to do anything. You just have to react to what someone else has made. And so Judge Mathis is just like that. It's just, they give me material and then I react to it, and it's easy. But my own personal writing, no, not yet. Nobody needs, first of all, do you know how many, like, quarantine essays we're gonna get before this whole thing is over? No one needs mine. Unless I catch it and live, then I will write about it.
Okay. To be fair, you have already written a great deal about never wanting to leave your house and never wanting to touch nature or never wanting to go outside.
Right.
Can you read us a little bit of one of those?
Okay, so I'm gonna read. That
was
a good segue. Okay.
I have an agenda. I have, my transitions are all written in.
Wow. When I do this, like, when I facilitate other people's book shit, I'm always like, so what'd you eat for breakfast? And then they're like, can we talk about my book? And I'm like, oh, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, now there are 275 people in here. Do you know how pissed they would be if I didn't, like I am their access to your brain and your books right now. So I gotta.
Here's the thing, though. You wouldn't hear how mad they were at you until later. They wouldn't be screaming at you, which I can deal with any conflict that's, like, delayed. You know, if you wanted to get in my face, I'd probably cry, but, like, if you wanted to email me after we had a fight, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can handle this. Okay, so I'm gonna read, because you asked me to, from this chapter called Girls Gone Mild, and it is, I think it's an essay that I conceptualized with you, talking about trying to Yeah, we were outside of a bookstore.
City Lit.
Yes, and we
We
were
got
talking. Yes, and we were talking about like partying as a senior citizen, and then I went out and tried to party, and it was a disaster. So in this essay, for those of you who haven't read it, I chronicle an entire night of going out, and I do it by like the time. It's like 7 o'clock we did this, 8 o'clock we did that. So I'm gonna start at 10:25 p.m. So now we're deep in it. Okay. Or 10:20 p.m. I can't even read my own fucking book. Okay. 10:20 p.m. I know the door guy. Remember that opening scene in The Social Network where Mark Zuckerberg was trying to shame Rooney Mara for getting their underage asses into a Harvard bar by snarking, "The reason we're able to sit here and drink right now is because you used to sleep with the door guy," as if she was supposed to apologize for that shit, or, I don't know, feel ashamed. Let me tell you about a little dream I have called I Fucked All the Door Guys. In that magical fantasy world, I never have to stand in an interminable line outside the promontory while shifting my weight from foot to foot and puffing air into my mittened palms to stay warm, or shout, "Look at my neck," when I get stiff-armed and carted in the doorway at Hopleaf because that grunting ogre barring the entry of regular peasants fucked me one time. And sure, he was disappointed, but now he's not going to make me catch hypothermia. I never tried to sneak into bars when I was an underage child because I never managed to find a fake ID featuring the photo of an unzipped body bag, but I have stood outside on a Thursday night in February in Chicago, huddled with other pigeons pecking around beneath an underperforming heat lamp, and that is an overrated experience. Anyway, that's why I suggested my friends and I go to a place where I know a guy. We got out of the car and I nodded at the imposing mountain of outerwear piled on a broken stool outside the door. He grunted and got up to wave us past the line, and I heard some little racist say, "Who the fuck is that bitch, Oprah?" And I yelled, "Yes, before the meat wagon." 10:30 p.m. Are there really not any chairs? We split up. One of my ladies makes a beeline for the crowd surrounding the bar. The one who drank the most of that expensive filtered water goes to find a bathroom. And I start circling the room trying to stake out a seat because I have arthritis in my knees. I knew we should have skipped dinner and gotten here before it got dark to snag ourselves a table. Now we have to spend the next hour or 2 hours or 6 days hovering anxiously near a table crowded with people who look like they might get up. It may surprise you to know that the seats being occupied by your newly single dad and his middle management pals are the least likely to become available, despite the fact that they look like they should have been in bed 3 beers ago. Those boneheads are going to be here all fucking night, risking it all equals a duplex in Aurora with a bored wife and uninterested kids, for a bottle service waitress with low standards. Better odds are to post up near the table of people screaming in one another's faces the loudest and having the most visible fun, because there's likely some cooler place with some hotter people that they have to get to, so they'll be leaving this one we found on our way in any minute now. I know better. This is as good as it's gonna get, because it's the only place I'm gonna go. Sure, the newest Bears draft pick is at this more exclusive I saw on a person's Instagram, but even if I wanted to go there, I would have to chase the bartender down to close my tab, get my coat out of the coat check, feel bad because I don't have paper money to tip the coat check attendant, be cold and outside again, then take my chances getting in somewhere else, only to circle another corner booth like a desperate vulture waiting for a seat that hopefully nobody barfed in. We're staying. Do you want me to keep going? No, it's 8:19. Let's
Okay, yes, and there are questions to do. When you were just reading, I was watching the comments, and there were like all these people going, "Hop leaf, hop leaf, hop leaf, hop leaf." I'm like, I think that we have
Man, I hope I don't alienate anyone, but that place sucks. It's always too full.
Where do you miss? Is that grammar that I
Oh my
said?
God.
I miss Little Bad Wolf right now.
I miss Little Bad Wolf. I love that place.
Yeah.
Somebody said JB's. I do not miss JB's because that is desperation pizza, but I would fuck up some JB's right now. I miss Crossroads in Evanston. That's my spot. I miss, where else? I miss Big Star and Big Jones.
Yep.
I miss Mods. That's the love of my life. I miss Mods. I miss that place we went, Duck Duck Goat. That food is so good. I miss M. Henry so much. And I miss, what's that pizza place in Evanston? Union Pizza?
Yep.
I miss Union Pizza so much. I assume everybody watching this is from Chicago. I am a Rogers Parkian. What do you call yourself? A Rogers Parker? So are you. I'm from Evanston, but Evanston is too expensive, so I lived in Rogers Park. So every place I love the most is always like up at that end of town where everybody else in the city never goes because they act like it's Antarctica or whatever. So if I were like, my dream is to like come back for a month and just like go to every place I miss and like not have to work or have any responsibilities whatsoever. And truly, I would like spend like 2 solid weeks in Evanston and Rogers Park, like going to all the little like gross spots that I like. Like I'd go to Lulu's. I miss being home. My wife is over there. Kirsten's probably gonna have a heart attack. I do miss being home a lot.
Yeah. Well, you can tell her that I'll take you to all of those places. But here's the question. And I want
the thing is, she would want to go.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'll drive. I mean, I can do both up on my way back there. Okay, but here's the question, because when you make Meaty, the TV show version, are you going to
fingers, everybody?
Are you going to do it in Chicago? Like, are all these?
Yeah, so we got, I mean, this is news that hasn't been announced, but like,
oh shit,
listen, it's fucking quarantine. Let's give everybody some good news. So right before the quarantine order went into effect, we got picked up to pilot, which means that Comedy Central liked the script that I wrote 17 different versions of. They liked version number 18 enough to let us shoot a pilot. So it's contingent upon finding like the perfect Sam. So I trust that she's out there somewhere. So they're gonna let us shoot a pilot in Chicago, and then if they like the pilot once it's shot, we'll get picked up to series, and then we'll get to write the rest of the show.
I was seeing
if we get to do that, it would be this summer. I mean, everything is, what is time? Who knows when we'll be freed from our prison homes? But when we are, I'm gonna come home and.
So we'll scout. We'll look for all the places that we just mentioned. John, you're recording.
We'll see what we can afford.
Just listed all the places that we need to go check out to possibly.
Well, I don't know what kind of budget Comedy Central is gonna give us to make like a diarrhea sex show. I wish people could like read the pilot, or I'll give you like the broad overview. So what happens in the first episode is we meet Sam, who's like late 20s-ish and doesn't have her shit together, and works at a bakery, which I did for a long time. And she's like sleeping with a girl in the beginning, but then she runs into this dude from high school that she wants to sleep with, but also she's throwing up and has diarrhea throughout the entire episode. And it culminates in Sam having to drive herself in the bakery delivery van to the emergency room, where she crashes into it and then finds out that she has a bowel obstruction. So I saw someone say that Sam needs to work at Benison's, but I worked at Judy's in Evanston, Benison's rival, so that's not happening. I'm so sorry. That was a very niche comment for one person, but Benison's ain't it.
I see a lot of people in the comments who are television writers and screenwriters themselves, and like asking you questions about.
Do they know that I do not know anything?
Well, I think just some of what you already laid out is a huge part of it, right? Like you might have to do 17 drafts of the first one once you even get there, right?
I mean,
just your journey from Comedy Central, it started at FX, right? And then it went from one to the other. And you write about that in the book. So a lot of the stuff is laid out for us as well, too.
I tried to say as much as I could without getting in trouble, because the thing about Hollywood stuff, so this shit I do in the book where I'm like, you know, this is what my pussy hole smells like or whatever. Hollywood doesn't work like that. Like, there's a lot of don't tell anybody. There's a lot of like, don't tell anyone, or I'm going to do this for you, but don't tell anyone how you got it, or here's my connection, but you can't say anything, or here, you know, it's like very secretive and gatekeeping, which is not how I am at all. Like anything I know, you know, like I give my agent's information out more than I give my own information out. I'm like, oh, you have a book to sell? I can't sell that shit. Here's Kent's number. But if you want to pitch him, he's Kent D. Wolf on Twitter. Feel free. He's very mean, but he's a good agent. But Hollywood is different because like no one ever like they don't talk about it. People act a lot like they like got a packet of magic beans and like then they got to have a show because they're so special and they found the magic beans. It's really like like I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. Like, you know how I got to make a show? Because Abby Jacobson, who's already in Hollywood, asked me if she could turn my book into a thing. And even with her on board, like we did 2 years of development at FX and they were like, no, we don't want this. Even though like you write it to the network standards and like the notes you take are their notes, and like you're working with a couple of executives and then they send it up the chain and they're like, no, we don't want this. And then it's like, oh man, 2 years of my work, huh? You don't want that? And then they're like, no. So I, you know, because I'm still working on it, I can't get into as much detail as I would love to. I'd love to print the names of who said no, but we're not done. We'll see if it gets outright rejected, then maybe book 3 will be just a list of everybody in Hollywood who was like, fuck you, Sam. Because then it won't matter anymore. But I tried to, as much as I could, like talk about the process. Like I worked on Shrill because Lindy got to pick one person for the writer's room and she picked me, and they were like, who? We don't know who that is. Get this other person who's already done this before. And Lindy stuck her neck out for me and was like, no, it needs to be Sam. And then she forced them to take me. But nobody ever talks about like that's how that works. Anybody you see whose last name isn't Warner Brothers got what they got because they know somebody who's juiced in. Yep. So this feeling like, and you know, being an artist or making a thing, like I just hate this idea that, you know, that you make other people feel bad, like they're not special enough or not talented enough, when really like you got a boost, you know, like nobody was like, oh my God, Sam, I'm just dying to have you work on this show. Lindy was like, hey, Sam, I got a deal. I want to bring you onto this project. And she fought for me. And that's how I got it. I am a special angel, but that is not how I got that job at Shrill.
Yeah. Something that I'm seeing in the comments is everyone talking specifically about the pool party episode. And I think that the
it truly was the best episode of television
would like
of all
to
time.
say, where is your Emmy? Where
Well, listen, they didn't nominate me for, they didn't put me up for one.
Well,
so
a thing that makes me think of is I just read this interview that you did in Interview Magazine, and you said a couple of times real people 2020, like real bodies 2020. I think that you were talking about not watching a certain television show because you were no longer gonna, I don't even remember which show it was, but you're no longer gonna watch.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember this because it was such a huge part of the zeitgeist. When everyone was talking about Love is Blind, I looked up the cast and I was like, oh, I don't need to see like beautiful people fall in love. Like I could watch The Bachelor for that. Like if you're truly gonna have Love is Blind, please have, one of these model looking dudes fall in love with fucking Brunhilde or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a Disney villain. Like I really want to see like people fall in love with like old crusty people with moles such as myself. And yeah, the Real People 2020 thing was about Bernie Sanders's wife. Like the question was like, what do you think of Jane Sanders? And rather than admit that I don't know anything about anything, I was like, well, yeah, Bernie's my guy. I don't know shit about his wife, but I do love that she looks like a real person instead of like a, Jetsons robot or something.
Yeah.
A real housewife.
I think like everything that we've been talking about so far is all lives in the new book in some sort of a way, right? Like whether we're talking about like the fuckery of living in a body, or a thing that I loved, like looking at all three of your books, but because I was there like for the decade.
Yeah.
That
people don't know. You really should take more credit because like Meaty is as much your book as it is my book.
But when I'm talking about
edited all of those essays, don't be shy.
I'm saying something important about your.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But just the first two books are so Chicago, right? And then when I sat down with the new one, Chicago's still in it, but it's there's Hollywood and then there's rural Michigan, which and in both of those, like Chicago, like you've always been Chicago, and it was kind of amazing to sit and read you in these two in complete opposite places, and in both of them, you're a little bit like, what the fuck is even happening here? I don't even know, and I kind of loved that trajectory. And again, I was reading in the New York Times review of the work where they were talking about just it, like even the work is a trilogy, and I was thinking, it kind of has to be 4 because before the books there was Bitches Gotta Eat, and that's its whole own. I mean, for me, because that's where I fell in love with you way before I got to make out with you. And on that note, there's so many questions.
Oh my God. Let me just say, I did not read the New York Times review because I can't. Positive or negative, she read it. I can't read any reviews. It just like lives in me, so I don't read anything. But I did hear that she said it was a trilogy, and I was like, bitch, I gotta make money. Like, I want to sell another book.
You just
don't fuck up my bag.
You yelled at me for not talking about. You will take the fucking credit. You will take it. You made something amazing. Shut up. It's amazing. Take it. Here are questions. I'm all worked up. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
You want some of these? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I wish I could like see people and like hug them.
Yeah.
One day I'll come home. We'll have a party.
Okay. Is there any part of your life that you have written about that you wish you hadn't?
No. I don't write about anything that I wouldn't put on the fucking news, because when you write a book, especially at this level, right? Like when the first version of Meaty came out, it was like on a small indie press. As you know, we shared a press. I didn't have an editor other than you, who I'd like beg to read my stuff. It was like very small. I figured a handful of people in Chicago would read it. and that was it. When you are publishing, like when Penguin Random House is the engine behind your book, it's like your book is going everywhere. It's also international. And it's like all you're gonna do is meet people, especially if you tour, all you're gonna do is meet people who like have read your stuff and are like screaming it back into your face.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be a person who's like, I know I wrote about that, but don't ask me about that. You know, like nobody wants to talk to that asshole. So like if something goes in a book, it's got to be something that I'm prepared to talk about with people in Boston and with people in Philly and with people in LA and in Denver. Like I don't think it's fair to me or to the audience to be like, well, here's the thing, but it's off limits. So no, I don't put anything in a book that I'm not ready to see on a billboard.
Yeah. I think part of this conversation too is about boundaries. Like I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments who write personal essays themselves and have questions about that. And the big question is always, well, what about, you know, if you're writing about your loved ones and they don't want to read it? And you said something in Bomb magazine the other day. You love, like, I just cut and pasted all your shit in here. But they asked you specifically about writing.
I'm like, who? I talked to what? Okay. Yeah.
I only let my wife read things that mention her directly, and I don't change anything based on her feedback because I'm honestly pretty good at keeping a respectful distance between the truth and my version of it. And that felt really important to me because I think a lot of times when you're talking to personal essayists or memoirists, it's that, you know, the thought is, well, I'm just going to write about anything. Like there's that famous Anne Lamott line, like if people wanted me to write warmly about them, then they should have acted better or something. And it felt good to me to read about that, like, here are boundaries.
Well, I feel that, and so another behind the scenes thing that I don't know, not to say that I'm the only person talking about this, but let's pretend for the moment I am. I get a legal read always on my books because I write about myself and I write about other people or other real people. So I was talking to the lawyer one time after he read my book and there were no problems. It was after the Yellow book. And like we had a long talk and whatever. And he said to me, he was like, listen, what you're not allowed to do is like out things about people, right? Like if someone has a disease they don't want anyone to know about, you're not allowed to put that in there. And like maybe you shouldn't use people's full names. He gave me a whole list of things. And he's like, but everything that happens to you is yours. Right? Like I'm here to tell you that like dips too much into someone else's personal stuff and we can pull that back, but everything that happens to you is your experience and you are allowed to tell your side. You don't have to tell the other person's side. Like, you know, if you want to hear both sides, let's go to court. But since I have the book, I'm going to write about my side of it. I try not to be, I mean, I don't think I ever write disrespectfully about anyone. And if and when I do, I don't use real names or like, I mean, I don't know if you could figure anything out, but in the last book, I wrote a whole thing about Fred, my old boyfriend, and a whole thing about Zach. And I sent the thing to Fred and I was like, this is a lot about you. If you hate it, I won't put it in the book. And he was like, he read it, or I don't know, he said he read it. Maybe he can't even read, who fucking knows. But he said that it was fine. And so I put it in the book. But like, I think I would never put something like, I write a lot about, here's a boundary. I write a lot about my parents. Not anymore because I'm done. But in Meaty and We're Never Meeting, I wrote a lot about my parents and I have written a lot about what a terrible childhood I've had. And sometimes like people don't know that I have siblings. Like I have 3 sisters and 2 half brothers. And it's like, well, because they're alive and this is not their story. And I don't want to say anything about them, or they maybe, and their experience wasn't my experience because we're so far apart in age. And I don't want to write an oral history of our family. I'm just writing about my part. So I think it's easy to be respectful and still get to the truth of a thing without crossing any boundaries. And as for like writing about my wife and stuff, first of all, she should feel glad that I write about her. I make her very interesting and funny. She's
very interesting.
sitting over there. I make her look very good. I've never slandered her. She should be so lucky to keep being featured. And I mean, fucking #1 bestseller. Come on.
It's true.
Come on. I wish you could see the face she's making.
I'm sure. I'm imagining it right now. She's going to start texting me in a second. Okay. Is it different to write for performance versus the page?
Well, yes. And I don't do that good of a job of it with the books, which I'm reminded of every single time I record an audiobook. You know, your girl loves a run-on sentence and like a stream of consciousness kind of thing. And it's always like hilarious. And I think that's like a funny device. Like it's a thing I use a lot. I think that is great in writing, but in reading, every single thing I mess up in the audiobook, it's because I can't breathe, because I've written too many words and no commas, and I haven't like paced it. Paste, P-A-C-E-D. I haven't paced it correctly. So yes, when I write for the stage, like when I write for Write Club or the Machete, I constantly read it out loud to make sure I'm not gonna embarrass myself by running out of breath on stage. But in the books, I just kind of go crazy, and then audiobook time comes. And I've had the same director for all 3 audiobooks, and she knows what's up. And like every time Kim is like, oh, still with these run-ons, and I'm like, yes. Please help it sound good.
Yeah. Someone is asking about the interview that you did with Allison for Chicago Humanities Fest, and is it going to be podcasted or any of that? Do you know?
Well, first of all, it's on YouTube. Do not send it to me. I'll die. I can't look at myself on video without crying to death. But it is on YouTube. It was fucking great. I did an incredible job. It was so funny. Please go watch it with your screen off, because I'm sure it looks terrible, but it was great. So I don't know if it's going to be a podcast, but Allison and I are going to do a virtual event soon. In the next few weeks, we're going to talk to each other. And that'll be great. But this time she's going to ask me things. I mean, it was terrible. I think, people do not ask her about her bowel movements generally. And I was like, so when you cook with all that cheese, how does it come out? And she was like, it was really great.
So I know you just published a part of an answer to, or actually 10 of these, but the question is, what was your favorite book of 2020 so far?
Oh, what was my favorite book of 2020 so far? Well, okay. So my favorite book from this year so far.
Yeah.
So I just read, please, everyone order this from Women and Children, Under the Rainbow by Celia Lasky. It's so good. First of all, I mostly read fiction. So if you're not into fiction, I'm so sorry. And pre-order this book called Luster by Raven. Oh my God, I just had it. I don't know where it is, but it's called Luster. It's got a beautiful, like, dreamy red cover, and it's very sexy, and it's about a Black woman who is fucking this old Raven Leilani, thank you, person in the crowd, who is like sleeping with this older white man, and she has IBS. So basically, it's about me, and it's so good. Comes out in August, I think, except everybody's dates are all messed up because of
Yeah.
the COVID. But
Like this, because you and I were supposed to do this live. We were supposed
Mhm.
to do a couple of other things live. I've like your whole tour is
Dunzo. But let me tell you, they were trying to send me to England, and Miss Corona came in right in the nick of time. I was like, they wouldn't get me. Okay, all right. They wouldn't get me like a first class ticket. And I'm like, I have to pay to get bumped up so that I can like not have my legs swell up. No. But now I don't have to go.
2020.
Yeah. Also, let me tell you, if I do another book, I'm going to look back on this moment when they try to set up a tour and be like, remember how I sold books without having to leave my house? What I want to do and what is going to happen. So Lindy and I wanted to do a driving tour of the Midwest where we would like get a fancy bus and like get someone to sponsor us. Who knows, you know, I don't know, fucking Weight Watchers or something, right? We would get like a corporate sponsor. I mean, we would eat donuts the whole time. Charmin, yes. So it would be like, you know, like fat and funny.
It's Charmin right now.
Well, ain't that the truth? Let me tell you, I saw a Cottonelle ad pop up that was like, we're working on it, like on some website. And I was like,
Okay.
oh man.
Okay, go back to the bus
Okay.
tour.
So Lindy and I were going to do this bus tour of the Midwest. We're still going to set that up. But I'm like, if I don't ever have to fly across the country ever again,
yeah,
that would be great. We could just do this.
Can I?
City to city, never leave the comfort of our homes.
Can I drive?
Yes.
Thanks.
Girl,
Okay.
how dope would that be?
Question, like the getaway driver for
Yeah.
you. I think that's why I was put on this earth. Okay, listen, this is important. This whole
Okay.
session. Okay. Scale of 0 to 10. What's your anxiety level right now?
I mean, it generally stays around a 7 to 8, even when asleep. So probably still there. I don't feel as stressed out. I mean, obviously something is going on. The other night I dreamed that I was fucking pregnant, which I was like, what in the world? But generally I don't feel as stressed. I'm telling you, the alternative is that like right now I'm in dirty clothes that I've sweated through at some other event on stage with you, fretting about having to fly to, you know, Arizona tomorrow. So compared to like what could be happening right now, I think I'm pretty relaxed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you met Judge Mathis or seen a live taping of the show? Can we arrange a Chicago fan club live taping event?
First of all, let me tell you, if I had met Judge Mathis, I would have already written an essay about how I sucked his dick because I love Judge Mathis. I have been to like 6 tapings, a lot. Somebody has a friend who's a producer on the show. Please tell me how to meet him. I've been to like 6 tapings, like, but when he first started, and I love it. I won a t-shirt for telling a joke between cases. So between cases, the judge goes away and Doyle entertains the audience. And like they have a joke contest and I told a joke and won a t-shirt. So I have not met him yet. I do have a plan. So my sister-in-law works at the law school that Judge Mathis attended, and she's gonna like dream up some award to give him, and then she's gonna have me come and do like the presentation and the interview when he gets the award. And then I'm gonna be like, I have devoted a significant chunk of my recent life to you. Yeah.
Have you
It's my other dream is to convince, it has to be like some kind of legacy publication, right? Because I feel like, you know, if I'm like, I'm from bitchesgottaeat.com, can I interview you? He'll be like, get the fuck out of my face. But if I get like Time magazine to say that I can use their credentials to interview him, I would love to interview him, and I would love to like go to the set and sit in the chair and like talk to him and like watch him. I mean,
like, is that a thing that you can do when you just get off the line with us, is drop a note to your Time editor and ask if you can do it? Like, you
I
can
mean,
do it.
maybe, but I want to see him, so I don't want to do it now. I don't want to do it now. I want to do it when I can like go
quarantine and okay. God, there are so many. You are all so great and so smart. Okay, I love how you incorporate pop culture into your writing. How do you mine what aspects of pop culture that you're going to use in your essays?
I mean, I guess it depends on what I'm writing about and what will fit or what I'm obsessed with at the time. Because I don't think I have like a wide, you know, that there are people who like watch all of the shows and they've seen everything. Like, listen, I've never seen a single Star Wars or Indiana Jones or Back to the Future. Like, there are just big cultural things that I have missed, but the things that I do like, I get very deep into them. So I have a narrow lane of things to choose from. Like, I think
the clubbing essay in the new book is an excellent example of that, because it's someone who was not in that particular world, just the specificity. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. No, that's it. It's like, I know a lot about DJs and house music from the mid 2000s. And so like, I have such a narrow, like, kind of scope of things that I have been interested in over my life. And just like whatever fits or whatever moves me. Sometimes I can't, not everything like deserves a full essay, you know what I mean? Like, there are things I'd love to write about, but I don't know enough about them. So I just like kind of have a secret love for them. And I'm like, one day. But then there's like The Bachelorette, which I've seen every season of. So then I wrote a fake like Bachelor essay or a Bachelor application to be her. So I don't know. It's whatever I can make funny and like write 5,000 words about. that ends up in the work.
Okay. During the early years, with so many obstacles, how did you find the resilience to keep writing? In your last book, you wrote, "But everything is garbage and the universe never gives me what you want." So what do you believe in now? By the way, I saw you wrote about the death of Helen, sending you love.
Oh, well, we got more cats, so.
There's 4 now?
Yes, there's one right here now begging me to play with her mouse on the floor. I should show you. Here, hold on. Indulge me, everyone. Can you see her?
Yeah.
That's Carrots. She has a little mouse that she would love for me to throw for her. Let's see. You mean I didn't write when things were bad, right? Like, I mean, I started my blog in 2008 and I was like firmly an adult with an apartment and a paying job. And like everything was stable. I wrote a lot in high school because my English teacher sophomore year was like, "Hey, you want to do an independent, I see you have a horrible home life. Do you want me to help you get through school by giving you independent studies and you can just write with me instead of taking other classes?" So I did write in high school, but like I don't know, I think any resilience in terms of like my life has truly just been like, I gotta have a place to live and no one's gonna give it to me. I gotta eat, no one's gonna do that for me. So I'm gonna work, right? Like, people are always like, how come you didn't try to work as your job. And it's like, you can't make any money doing that. In order to be a writer right now, like, let's not be romantic. In order to be a writer right now, I had to move from a city that costs too much. And I had to marry someone who had health insurance, which I need, I cannot live without it, who had health insurance and also had a job, and our overhead had to be low enough that if I didn't make any money, which as a writer, there are big periods of you not making any money, that it would be okay, right? So it's like, that's the only reason I can be a full-time writer now, is because, like, Kirsten is a social worker in the public schools, and she has Blue Cross Blue Shield. No, I'm just kidding. That bullshit about like loving your insurance is bullshit. But so in terms of resilience, it was like, I just had to do what I had to do because I didn't have a safety net, and the writing was always secondary. And let's be for real, if my agent can't sell another book from me, the writing will become secondary, and I'll go work at the gas station or Walgreens or wherever the fuck I'm qualified to work with a high school education, at another cat hospital or whatever, and do the writing on the side again. So I don't know if it's resilience as much as it's just like, I had no safety net and had to do what I had to do.
Yeah. You get into this a little bit in the new book, in the last essay, An Extremely Specific Guide to Publishing a Book. That I loved so much. And you were talking about how the blog started, right? And the line, God, and this is, see, everyone talks about how you do funny, and everybody's fucking right with that. But man, you do heart really huge too, because this is the line that let me finish. This is the line that I'm carrying around with me from the book. The idea that bad things can't hurt me if I tell everyone about them in a funny way seemed like a fun way to grieve these tiny little deaths. And then you made like this quick list of different things that you'd blogged about, and it kicked me back to when I first started reading the blog, like here's a sentence about the speed dating blog entry, and then here's a sentence about the trainer and the chicken entry. And then I went back to the blog and was digging into that kind of stuff again. I'm just going to take one more super fast question, because I think then we got a time here. But
that's sad. I could keep doing this forever. This is fun.
This is what, now the comments are going to explode now that you just said that. But yes, someone said, yes, let's. Okay. Someone wrote, early fan here. Thank you for hilariously freaking out my mom about that story one evening about the guy who wanted to pee on you.
That's a good story though. I'm sorry that I grossed your mom out, but that is an incredible story.
Miss doing those local events like Guts and Glory.
Yes, but also, you hold on. You can just walk through. Hurry up. It's less distracting if you just pass by. Don't have children, people, or don't marry a lady with children. Then you can't Zoom without them walking through. Okay. Do I miss doing that stuff? Kind of, because I miss like being with people and seeing people, and I miss seeing people perform. Like, Chicago had such a vibrant storytelling scene, but I feel like, is the scene less now? I feel like we got out just in time before it like stopped being a big thing. There also was like the pressure of having to put on a show every month, which I think Keith and I were both feeling like, oh, we have to do one of these every month. But I do occasionally, I miss, like, there's something about being in a room of like-minded people that feels really good. So I do miss that.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't end on that sappy answer.
Okay.
Give me one more thing that's like I can riff on.
One more. Okay. All right.
Hi, Gino. Look at all my dumbass friends are in here. Gino, Katie, Julia. Hello, stupids. Danielle.
Yep. There they all are. There's a lot of people in here throwing love at the bookstore and throwing love at Helen, which is great. We all love Helen. Um, a lot of these we've hit in all sorts of different ways.
Okay.
I just read two of them back to back. One is what snacks are keeping you comforted, and one is do you have an accordion of truth?
I don't have an accordion of truth, but if I had to sue someone, I would absolutely have one. I would have all of my printed out text sheets. I would have all my shit in order. I would have my video evidence. I know exactly what I need to win a case on Judge Mathis. So if I needed one, I'd have one. And as for snacks, this is a little depressing. So I don't have celiac disease, but my body does feel better when I don't eat gluten. So I've been doing like the gluten-free snack thing, and I have two things. One, these Tate's gluten-free cookies are incredible. They're like crispy and thin and like very buttery. They're so good. And then a lot of Zingerman's pimento cheese, which is the best of the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna end on this one. So you did an interview with The Believer recently, and you talked about you were talking about writing difficult things,
Mm-hmm.
and you said, when I sit down to write, I am mostly like, you've got to make yourself laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something you can still do right now?
Yes. I mean, everything is absurd all the time. Hold on a second. Go! Oh my God. It's impossible to have them not make noise for a fucking hour. Okay. Like turning on the sink. Anyway, let me recenter. It is Gordy.
Gordy.
You're going to hear Gordy get pushed down a flight of stairs in a minute.
I will protect him with my life.
Oh, God.
You were just talking about something very important and serious, though.
Okay, I was gonna say, well, I mean, this is a perfect example of finding funny in the absurd, right? Because I could get mad and smash this computer into this child, or I can just laugh with everyone about how ridiculous it is that he needed to rinse an ice cream scooper while I'm trying to talk to 266 of my closest friends. So I do always try to find the funny. And even now, like, we are living in, like, it's hell times. It's awful. But there's still, I mean, I find joy in like celebrities complaining on Twitter about like how hard it is for them to be in their mansions. That is very funny to me. I saw an article that was like, how to look your best on a Zoom call. And I was like, oh, there's always going to be something ridiculous. Even like we could see the asteroid coming to hit us, and there will be someone doing something stupid that we can collectively in our own homes and heads make fun of. So yeah, there's always going to be something.
That's the end note right there. Always going to be something.